From the Post-Millennial, 55% of left-leaning Americans say, I'm not going to read this headline, I can't read it, but they're in favor of hurting the president, we'll put it that way.
Only somewhat.
55% somewhat justified. It's 55 that are somewhat justified or totally justified. They combined it. That's how they got the plurality, or the majority, actually.
You're the bad guys.
Yeah, according to a poll done by the Network Contagion Research Institute, a growing number of people are fine, justifying, or even celebrate political assassination. This is what I'm saying. Look, we were talking about Gen Z, not whether they would work in factories or not. And we were talking about how I think the younger generations largely look up to the older generations like they're in charge and they know it's best, even though 22-year-olds should be running businesses. They should. That's the way it used to be. Like you were 22 and you had a farm and you were the boss. You were in charge. You answered to nobody. But now it's like Gen Z is just looking up to everybody else instead of taking the reins. Millennials are no different. I think that there's a general lack of purpose. And what's going to happen is the younger generation becoming increasingly radicalized are going to get increasingly violent because there's no path. And it's not so much about opportunity or the American dream. It's about what are we even doing? Someone's going to find a way to fill that with Orange Man Bad or, insert any other ideology. And then I think we're going to see young people in 10 years be espousing their violent rhetoric and ideologies to younger generations. Gen Alpha is going to be getting older. And then, bad stuff happens.
This is something I've been wondering about. Why is it that they latched on to Luigi Mangione and started hero worshiping him, but the same response didn't happen for Thomas Crooks?
Because Luigi's a pretty boy.
Yeah. Because
That's
Luigi
it?
I disagree. I
Thomas
think
Crooks had a more important target.
Crooks had no motive, ideology, structure. He had no grievance. We don't even know how he got there. Mangione said, I was living the good life and then I hurt my back and it destroyed everything. And they kept denying me and delaying. And so he went out for revenge. And that was an ideological.
Know nothing about Thomas Crooks.
Exactly. Bill Burr said on Jimmy Kimmel, are you kidding? He said something like, are you kidding? People are wondering why this happened. That's why.
Mm-hmm. They started worshiping.
But not to say you're completely wrong, Phil.
Charisma matters.
The ladies do want to hook up with that guy.
They started worshiping and romanticizing him before they even knew who he was too.
Right.
Because they had a suspect. This guy just killed a healthcare CEO. Oh, he's definitely on our side. You know what I mean? And that's not a I hate Republicans, I hate Trump thing. That's a down with the system, I'm a leftist thing.
Yeah.
And that's why they latched onto it.
Now, here's the important question. The important question is is age, in my opinion. I don't care about the general left of this country. What people often completely overlook in these things, the way I described it is, how can I describe it? Imagine that you have, there's a graph indicating your proximity left and right, where you are. And in the 1990s, everybody was really close to each other. That's what the Pew Research shows. Over time, the left and the right start to move away from each other. What people don't understand is that the bifurcation among the younger generation is night and day, and the bifurcation among the older generation is, they're fairly similar. It's not that big a deal. Voting patterns right now reflect an older generation in boomers, Gen Xers, and some millennials that are still somewhat close in worldview. But as you get millennial to, so some millennials, you get millennial, Gen Z, and younger, the distance between ideologies is a chasm. When the older generations that agree with each other die and pass on, they will no longer be voting. That means you are going to have increasing hyperpolarization as the younger generations begin to take over these principal voting blocks and become the only voters. This is missed by everybody. 10 years from now, boomers are not going to be voting. So their shared worldview among Democrat and Republican boomers, gone. Then you're going to have far left young people, far left middle-aged people and conservative, moderate, right-wing people, and they're going to be voting for insanely different things.
Yeah.
To the point where voting don't matter. They're going to be like, I will not let you do that no matter what. It's one thing when in the 90s, everybody agreed. In the 90s, everybody agreed on almost every single policy except should the taxes be 1% higher or 1% lower? And should abortion be 15 weeks or 16 weeks? Now it's abortion for everybody no matter what, or no abortions at all. It is Marxism, it is DEI, or it is anti-woke, anti-Marxist, or whatever. The only thing holding everything together is boomers, for the most part, and Gen X. When boomers stop voting, hyperpolarization is going to jump. The left-leaning Americans, when they include elderly people who are anti-violence, look, another poll that we pulled up a year or so ago was that they polled whether or not people thought a civil war would happen in this country. Boomers overwhelmingly said it will not. Gen X, it was 2-1 that it won't happen. Millennials were split 50-50, and Gen Z was 2-1 it will happen. So just carry that sentiment as Gen Z ages and becomes older and starts entering the age where they should be controlling industry.
I guess the only saving grace that I can think of with that is the fact that young people are the ones that actually engage in revolutionary activities generally. Usually if there's a revolution or a civil war or something, it's young men that are doing it. And hopefully the people that feel like there will be one age out of it before it actually comes to a head. But that is definitely
They're more likely to think in black and white and grow out of it. Like, I wonder what millennials would have said had they been asked in the 18 to 24 age range.
Well, millennials, they wouldn't have thought that. I imagine that they wouldn't have thought that we would have a civil war, because remember, they're in their 40s now. So 20 years ago, it was 2005, and it was a whole different world. It was a whole different world. I think so. The reason why millennials are split pretty close to thinking there will be is because we grew up with a constant battle between left and right in a way that boomers did not. There was, to a certain, don't get me wrong, I shouldn't say that there wasn't. There was certainly far left, but it wasn't as pronounced in the mainstream. So when millennials are growing up, it was mainstream for the left to make prominent videos attacking the right. It was mainstream for Green Day to make a whole album saying, "Screw America, F you." Yep. So,
I mean, I know that there was punk rock stuff and there was criticism of the government, but the mainstream was largely not this.
Look, people that liked Rage Against the Machine in the 90s, 95% of them didn't know what Rage Against the Machine was singing about.
Yep. That's why there's that video that's really funny of a bunch of middle-aged white people dancing to the song Killing in the Name.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what they're singing about?
Yeah, I used to love Green Day. Used to.
I mean, I was never a Green Day fan, but I still listen to Rage Against the Machine. Like, if they come on the radio, I'm not turning them off. I like Rage Against the Machine, even though I know that, like, ideologically, we couldn't be further apart.
I still listen to Green Day, like, rarely on occasion, but yeah.
Well, in the 90s, the 2000s, the 2010s, I think millennials also believed that political solutions existed because the left was ascendant, and it was like, we're winning the battle for progress.
That could very well be.
They elected Obama. They also have this fake civil rights victory of gay marriage under their belt, and they feel like they won. Up until very recently, the left felt like they were ascendant.
Which is probably why there are so many people that are, young people that look at the situation and freak out if they're on the left. If they're like leftists, like people like Hassan and stuff, like there's not a whole lot of moderation coming from these guys. They're really, that's why Trump freaks them out. Because they thought they had a permanent victory. And that was kind of the vibe that people had, is like, okay, now that Obama's won, now we can look at the Republicans as a regional party. The real actual action is going to be who gets nominated on the Democrat side, because it's clear that person is going to go on to beat the Republican, whoever the Republican may be. And then Donald Trump came and changed everything. I mean, I don't know where it goes from here, but
I think the one thing that people just don't consider, and I'll say it again, is that, look, somebody right now who's 17 years old will be voting in 2028. Somebody right now who is 28 years old, who's never voted before and doesn't care because young people don't vote, will be voting in 2028 for the first time because it's beginning to impact their retirements or something like this. It's funny to me that whenever it comes to elections, people say things like, how do we convince more people to vote Republican? How do we register more Republican voters? And it's like, go to a freshman college class. You'll register tons of Republicans there. You just start signing them up. They never registered before. They're 18. They can finally vote. People aren't considering that a large portion of the people who voted for Donald Trump the first time are dead. In 2016, when Trump ran for the first time, How many voters did he get that were elderly? And it's been 10 years and they ain't here anymore. So he needs to find voters somewhere else, which is another point, which is interesting in the 2024 election, because this means Trump won a substantial, a large number of new voters, considering many of the older voters who vote Republican are aging out, as we call it, passing on.
Expedited by COVID.
Indeed. So absolutely. So he actually won bigger than people realize, because they're thinking of it like the body politic is a static thing.
Yeah.
Not that it's constantly changing. So Trump is winning bigly with young people.
That's an error that I feel is like every group kind of makes. People think that the time doesn't progress, and they almost forget that, there's going to be changes. Like I was just saying earlier, the Democrats thought that they were going to be in control forever. They couldn't imagine someone like Donald Trump taking over the Republican Party and really changing what a Republican is. The Republican, the left thought the Republicans were people like John McCain and Mitt Romney, and then Donald Trump came in and changed everything. And that's why the other day we were talking, Terrence Williams was here, and I was like, look, man, you don't know who can pop their head up. There may not be someone obvious now on the Democrat side, but there is no guarantee that the Republicans or America First is going to be in control for the next 30 years. There's going to be someone there could very well be someone that will pop up on the Democrat side and be, a fiery speaker or have influence and could really, and you can't tell what's going to happen in the world either. There are conditions that change.
I don't think there. So there was a poll that came out for who's the for the 2028 election. Who do you got? J.D. Vance had like 40-something%, and Stephen A. Smith had the Democrat ticket.
Yeah, I mean, there's no one right now.
What?
There's 100% no one right now that's obviously ascendant. I'm just saying that it could be in 4 years or 6 years that someone decides, because someone that's 25 now that's not in politics, in 5, 6, 7 years they could be like, hey.
What I can say is Terrence sent me a box of sweet potato pancake mix, which I've been using to make waffles with, and it is good. It's real good. He sent us buttermilk pancake mix too, but Allison's not doing dairy right now, so we can't use it just yet. But the sweet potato pancake mix does not have any dairy in it, so I've been using it to make waffles, and I would describe them as based AF. Very delicious. Very healthy, by the way. Shout out to Cousin T's Pancakes, and we used his blackberry. He sent us blackberry syrup. Ooh. Yeah, it's good. Not too sweet. Not too sweet. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.